Hey guys, today what we're going to be doing is looking at volume of a sphere. Now, volume of a sphere it's basically like a basketball, soccer ball, the earth. So here's this my spherical object, and the volume for this object is 4/3 pi r cubed. And our units are also going to be units cubed because it's a 3D shape. So now that I know this formula, all we're going to do is go ahead and look at the situations and plug in some numbers. So right here on this one, it shows us that we have this ball or this sphere, and it has a diameter. I know it's a diameter because it goes from one end all the way to the other. And what I need to do is I need to find the radius. So all I do is cut that 17 in half, and that means I'm going to have a radius of 18.5. And now I just plug this information in. So I'm going to have now, I'm going to have volume equals pi r cubed, and I'm going to times that by 4/3. So let's go ahead and plug everything in now. Volume equals 4/3 times 3.14 times 8.5. And so when I bring up my calculator, I want you to know I don't have a third power on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take 8.5 and multiply it by itself 3 times. So we're going to do 8.5 times itself 3 times, and I'm going to get 614.125. So I'm going to have volume equals 4/3 times 3.14 times 614.125. Then what I'm going to do is multiply it by pi. So we're going to do times 3.14. And so now I'm going to have volume equals 4/3 times 1928.35. We'll just keep it to the 100 spot. And then what I'm going to do is multiply this by 4 and then divide it by 3. That's how I multiply by 4/3. So that means the volume of this shape is 2,571 millimeters cubed. All right, so now what we're going to do, it's going to give us some words, and we're going to have to figure it out. So whenever I have this, I always make a drawing. It says I have a sphere with a diameter of 60 inches. So the first thing I do is I'm going to actually draw my sphere. And it says I have a diameter of 60. Well, if I have a diameter of 60, that means I'm going to have a radius of 30. So therefore, my formula is 4/3 pi r cubed is equal to my volume. So I'm going to have 4/3 times 3.14 times 30 equals my volume. So this is going to be 4/3 times 3.14, and it's 30 to the third power, excuse me. And it's going to be 27,000. That's 30 times 30 times 30. And now what I'm going to do is just multiply all these. So I'm going to have 27,000 times 3.14 times 4 divided by 3. And I'm going to double check to make sure I did that right, because I think there's a calculator error. So 3.14 times 27,000 times 4 divided by 3. Very good. So it is 113,040. And then don't forget our units. It's inches to the third power. Okay, so now this one's a little different. I have half a sphere. So pretend that this is an entire sphere. The formula would look like pi r to the cubed times 4/3. That's for the whole thing. But what we're going to end up doing is cutting it in half. So whatever my volume is at the end of this, what I'm going to do is take the entire answer and divide it by 2 because I'm cutting half of it out. So what this would look like then is I would have 4/3 times 3.14 times 27 to the 3rd power. And whatever my answer is, I'm only looking for half the sphere, so I'm going to cut the whole thing in half. So let's go ahead and do everything in the big parentheses first. So if I take my calculator and I do 27 to the 3rd power, and then I times that by pi, and then multiply it by 4/3, this would be the volume of the entire sphere. But since I want to know what half the sphere is, I'm going to divide the volume of the whole thing by 2, and that'll give me half. Therefore, the volume of half the circle, or half the sphere, is 41,203.1. We'll round to the 10th spot. And then it's centimeters cubed. All right, let's go and look at one more. This one is a little different because it gives us the volume, and what we need to do is find the diameter. So the first thing that what we're going to do is I am going to look at my formula. Volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed, and I'm going to have 113.1 is equal to 4/3 times 3.14 r to the 3rd power. So the first thing that I'm going to do is multiply both sides by the reciprocal. So if I multiply both sides by 3/4, these cancel, and I'll multiply this side by 3/4. So let me bring up my calculator. This would be 113.1 times 3 divided by 4. So I have 84.825 equals 3.14 r to the 3rd power. So what I'm going to do is divide both sides by pi. So if I divide both sides by 3.14, I'm going to get 27. And if we round this to the nearest tenth, it's just 27.0 equals r to the 3rd power. So now what I'm going to do is take the cubed root. I am looking for 3 numbers that are exactly the same that multiply to 27. Those 3 numbers are 3 times 3 times 3. Therefore, the cubed root is just 3. So that is my radius. Now the question doesn't ask for the radius, the question asks for the diameter. In order to find the diameter, all I do is double the radius. So that means that the diameter is going to equal 6, and that is my final answer. And we need to make sure we have our units, and it's 6 centimeters. I hope this video helped. If you have any more questions, please feel free to email me or your teacher.